Well, I am so excited to report the completion of the inside exhibits for our Nature Center expansion. You know, the Nature Center has been opened since originally 1995. But that was the old Nature Center that was one room. It was wonderful for what it was, but our expansion really began in 2015, 2016. That was when we were building the building. Our friends of Steele Creek Nature Center and Park were fundraising heavily during that time. And the first exhibits in the new Nature Center opened to the public in 2017. So here we are just 6 years later, and we are now completing the inside exhibits for the complete Nature Center. I'll be the first to admit that this is maybe a biased opinion because I'm coming at this as a paleontologist. But I very much think we saved the best for last. This is a giant ground sloth, Megalonyx jeffersoni. This is one of the Ice Age megafauna, you know, big animals. Not a dinosaur. This is a mammal like you and me. But it was only recently extinct. The Megalonyx is known from right here in Sullivan County. It's known from other nearby fossil sites, and it's part of our fossil record of recently extinct giant Ice Age creatures. We have put a whole lot of prehistoric creature into a tiny little space. And full disclosure, I was a little concerned about that until we actually got the completed product. And what I realized was, boy, it just adds to the experience. When you come to the lower level of the Nature Center and you come down those steps or you come off the elevator, you are really invited to come into the space of this creature. You become almost part of the exhibit yourself. And so this was provided to us by Ray Garton from Prehistoric Planet, and then some folks that we've done a lot of work with and have helped us with our Nature Center Ponds and Plants. They did all of the scenic work to put the skeleton as part of the cave, because that's also not a coincidence. The fossils of these creatures locally and elsewhere are oftentimes found associated with cave and sinkhole and fissure deposits. So we put this guy with the cave because that's where their fossils are usually found. This guy was custom mounted to fit in this tiny space, and so the pose, the way that it appears that he's almost crawling out of the exhibit, that was all intentional, part of our storytelling. And there's also the fact that he's grabbing, you know, this is a fossil creature, a skeleton, and it appears that he's grabbing some living plants. That was also intentional because a big part of the story of these creatures that have only been extinct for a few thousand years is that the ecosystem that's here doesn't really know that they are gone. The food sources for these creatures are still out there growing in Steele Creek Park today. So this is a species that has so recently left us that the ecosystem doesn't even really know that it's gone. It's hard to believe when you look up at the skeleton here, but giant ground sloths, they were actual sloths. They are closely related to the tree sloths that we still have in the world today. Of course, they don't live in Steele Creek Park. They only live in Central and South America. They're the two-toed sloths and the three-toed sloths. But they are in the same group as those. So the ground sloths, even though they're entirely extinct, they are true sloths. They have a lot of the same anatomical features. Their teeth are very similar. The bones, the skull, in fact, even the skull of our big Megalonyx here doesn't look all that much different from the skull of a modern sloth, just much larger. Another thing I'm really excited about with this exhibit is that it does invite you to be interactive with it. I said, you know, you almost feel like you're part of the exhibit. Well, of course, we don't want anyone to touch the giant ground sloth skeleton itself. It's fragile, but we do have a number of fossil replicas that we do invite you to touch gently and interact with while you're here. So while you can't touch the big guy, you can touch some of the fossils as part of the exhibit. So that's exciting. Our friends of Steele Creek Nature Center and Park have been instrumental in every phase of the Nature Center and especially its expansion. So their fundraising accounts for all of the exhibits inside the Nature Center. So we're open 7 days a week. When you bring your family in to visit the Nature Center, everything that you see was fundraised for by our friends of Steele Creek. And this was an exhibit that it's been in the designs pretty much from day one. We knew that this was a story that we wanted to tell because frankly, this is a part of our local natural history that in my opinion just doesn't get enough attention. There are some prehistoric creatures, dinosaurs get lots of attention, rightfully so. Saber-toothed cats, they get lots of attention, rightfully so. Giant ground sloths, these were giant herbivores of our area. They have a fossil record from right here, and yet many people don't know that they ever existed at all, much less that they were in their own backyard just a few thousand years ago.